Community Insight. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Coles, and we're here bringing information to our community and always bringing on new guests to our broadcast so you can know what's happening and how you could get involved. I say to you today, please get your pen and paper ready because you're about to have another great show today here on Community Insight. Today, we have a good friend come a distance to come this direction, Miss Erica. Miss Erica is with Care for Carolina. Miss Erica, how are you doing today?
I am great. I am thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay. And now, Miss Erica, y'all do a whole lot. When I received the package, I've been on your website and the things you're doing, and it's so important with our community. So I ain't going to take the thunder. I'm going to pass it right back to you. Could you tell us what is Care for Carolina?
Absolutely. Well, we are a statewide coalition of 121 member organizations that are solely focused on closing North Carolina's health insurance coverage gap. Right now, we have over 600,000 North Carolinians, most of these hardworking people, parents, veterans, farmers, so many of our laborers that are stuck in the coverage gap, unable to afford health insurance. And so our coalition includes patient advocates like the American Cancer Society, the American Heart Association, the March of Dimes. We include health provider associations, the North Carolina Medical Society, the Nurses Association, the Community Health Center Association. We include economic development organizations like the North Carolina Rural Center and the North Carolina East Alliance of Chambers, and then child and family advocates like NC Child and the North Carolina Early Education Coalition.
Wow. When you mention the gap, and some people don't know what we're talking about, so we want to bring them into our conversations. And what are they talking about, the gap? Could you explain what is the gap so people understand the gap? What is that gap between left and right?
Absolutely. So the coverage gap is where someone falls if they make too much money to qualify for Medicaid, but not enough to get a subsidy in the private insurance marketplace. So for an individual without children, that's any income below 100% of the federal poverty line. So if they're an adult in North Carolina and they live in poverty, they can't get health insurance. So what we're talking about are for a single individual, that's around $12,000, $13,000. So we're looking at someone working minimum wage. Now, if they're a parent, and a quarter of the folks in the coverage gap are parents. In fact, over 410,000 North Carolina children have at least one uninsured parent in the gap. Wow. For a parent, if they make more than 42% of the federal poverty line, but less than 100%. So what that looks like in real numbers, for an individual, let's say we have a single mom, and she works full-time, but she's making minimum wage. She's making around $13,000 a year if she's working all throughout the year. For her to qualify for Medicaid, she would actually have to make less than $7,200 a year if she has one child. But for her to get a subsidy in the private marketplace, she's not making nearly enough. So a single mom working full-time in North Carolina with 1, 2, or 3 children, again, this is working 40 hours a week, is going to be in the coverage gap with 1, 2, or 3 children in North Carolina.
Wow, when I hear you talking about the gap of the insurance and the people and those, and a lot of folks I deal with in the rural area, the populations, which is 200 or higher, that it's really sad to knowing that we have folks who can't get insurance just because of that gap. And insurance is so important, incorporation. And one of the things in the corporation I love was PepsiCo. One of the things they always fight about was the medical, because see, most people think, well, let me retire. And most people retire not understanding that you lose your medical coverage, and as you're getting older, you're going to get sick. I mean, things just going to happen. I mean, sometimes it take me longer to get out the bed today, and before I'll be able to jump out like a fireman. But today, hey, I got to slow that pace. I won't fall hurt myself. And so when they retire, they don't even understand that, how important insurance is. and especially with people today who's making less money, because in some states the minimum wage went up, and in our state they haven't, and that's another punch in the shoulder here, where we don't have that. So with those who's just barely making it, it's going to be hard for them to pay any kind of insurance premium. You pay more insurance premiums than you pay for a nice luxury car. If you don't have this type of insurance.
That's absolutely right. In most counties in North Carolina, that single mom we talked about, let's say she's 30 years old, for her to purchase the cheapest marketplace plans, a bronze plan on the marketplace, it's going to cost her over $300 a month. So we're looking at, and the estimated out-of-pocket cost for her throughout the course of the year, if she's healthy, we're not talking about, diabetes or asthma, we're talking about a healthy 30-year-old woman, she's looking at spending a third of her annual income on health insurance. And that's not doable when you're making $8 an hour. You can't do it. But mentioning the wages, it's not just those minimum wage workers. Let's say that you've got a dad, and let's say that his wife is at home with their two kids that are 2 and 4, because childcare, I was looking at it recently. I think our childcare costs are about, what you'd make.
Yeah, stay home. I'm paying to work.
And so let's say that the wife is staying home with the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old, and the dad's at work. Well, for that family of 4 to qualify for Medicaid, they would need to make less than $11,000 a year. Well, he's making more than that, even just making minimum wage. But for him to get a subsidy in the private marketplace, he'd need to make $26,000 a year. Well, so let's say he's working, he's not making minimum wage, he's making $12 an hour. So he's working at one of our small businesses in Pitt County, making $12 an hour. Guess what? He can't get any help. He can't get a subsidy in the marketplace.
Wow.
He's looking at paying around, that $300, $400 a month rate if he's 40 years old. Plus his wife. So, this family is looking at paying as much out of pocket in order to get health insurance as he's able to make, again, working full time to take care of his family. And I think that's the really key thing, is that over 14% of North Carolina workers are in the coverage gap. 14% of North Carolina workers. And, it varies county to county. But, we have some counties that have upwards of 26%. Of their workers that are uninsured. The majority of these folks in the coverage gap that we're talking about, they are working people.
That's so sad to hear that knowing that we have people that's really working hard. And when you look at it, if he's making $12 an hour, he's really not making $12 an hour. He's making something like $2, $3 an hour. And when you got to pay all these expenses, because medical could be very expensive. When I go to the doctor, and I do have a copay. We have a plan. I make sure my package is right for 11 PepsiCo. But it still costs me. I spend just at the doctor with the copay or whatever, or easy $3,500 for that year. And if you're looking at that, of helping these folks here as they coming out from working all day and thinking they can help their family, and when the children get sick, and also when you said that key thing, even with the babysitter, because a daycare now, I'm going back sometime, it was costing me about at least $150 a week. I don't know what it is today,
It's more than that today. Yeah, I live in the Triangle.
Okay.
So I don't know what the rates are in Pitt County or the surrounding counties, but I know that we pay as much in daycare as someone else might be able to make working a minimum wage job right now. And what we pay is on par with other rates in the Triangle. Believe me, we looked. So it's astronomical. So there's so many things coming at these low wage families, and again, these folks are hard workers. These are the people doing the frontline jobs that we've talked about being heroes for the last 2 years. These are our grocery clerks. Again, these are our farmers. We have so many farmers stuck in the gap. These are our nursing home assistants. In fact, some of the jobs that have the highest percentages of their the laborers in those positions in the gap are nursing home assistants, childcare workers. 1 in 5 of our childcare workers are in the coverage gap. We're talking about construction workers, I mean, these are the people who build our houses, the people who cut our hair, who take care of our kids, who service our meals. I mean, these are the folks that we're talking about in the coverage gap.
And this really falls in legislation where they need to, and I'm not a politics person. I will let people know I'm not into but I'm into what's right. It's never who's right, it's what's right, and I let them know that I am an independent, So, I mean, in case you say, well, this guy, he must be a Republican or Democrat. Where is he at? I'm independent. And I say that boldly, and that this is something that we need to make sure those gaps being closed, because families are being hurt when they can't afford, they can't afford the luxury of life. I don't believe that God brought us on this earth to suck on lemons and eat prunes. All right. He wants us to enjoy the fruit of our labor and what we're doing and what we're working hard for. And it's amazing that knowing that you have children that's in daycare, and the daycare, you say it's more than that. God knows, I think, Lord, I'm out of that. But if you're paying, it's like you're working for the daycare, and you're just going to work every day and getting up with the alarm clock. What's the purpose of going to work if I'm paying all that money for the daycare, and then I can't even afford insurance? So it makes a person think, well, what should I do? I mean, I can't get a decent car because the insurance that I have to pay, because I'm caught into this gap. And I need insurance, because if we get sick and then we go to the hospital, and those bills will come on you, and they will go into a collection on you.
Medical debt is the leading cause of bankruptcy, of individual bankruptcy, and there's a reason. And I'm glad you mentioned something about. We talked a lot about the cost of this insurance, how somebody winds up in the gap, but the health outcomes that we're looking at. I mean, there's a reason that so many patient advocacy organizations are a part of this work. We know, according to the American Cancer Society, that the number one factor in determining whether or not someone will survive their cancer is whether or not they have health insurance. It's whether or not they can get those screenings, and whether or not they can afford the surgical treatment or the chemotherapy or what have you with those treatments that comes after. So when we are looking at making sure these folks are insured, it's not just a matter of what they can afford, it's a matter of how they can live to enjoy those fruits. And so that's, one of the key parts. Was a story that you made me think of with the child care worker. We have this incredible partner named Miss Cassandra Brooks, who runs 2 child care centers in Johnston County. And she has told the story of 2 of her teachers that have suffered adverse health consequences because of not being able to afford health insurance. One of those teachers, she was a woman in her 50s. She had teenage children at home, and she had heart disease. But she was not able to afford her blood pressure medication and was taking vinegar to deal with her blood pressure, because this was the hand that she was dealt, and she passed of a heart attack because of untreated heart disease, because she couldn't get health insurance. So, these are the kinds of situations that we're hoping to affect. And you mentioned the legislative piece. There's a way to fix this. North Carolina can fix this, and we can fix it at zero cost to taxpayers with zero impact on the general fund budget at all. North Carolina can close the health insurance coverage gap right now and actually receive federal incentive funds for doing so.
And the question is, why don't they?
I don't know that I can answer that question.
Okay.
What I can say, and a lot of times this gets chalked up into a partisan issue, but truly, I don't believe that it is, because there are so many members of our legislature in both chambers on both sides of the aisle that want to solve this problem. They may have differing views on how they see certain ways to solve the problem, but I do believe there is a strong majority across the board that wants to fix this. And they have the opportunity to do so right now with the budget process. And I believe that there are advocates working to make this happen within the chambers. But I also believe that they need to hear from their constituents of how important this is right now.
And one of the things you said, a few things you said, a lot of things hit points. It's amazing that when people get sick or they have diabetes and they need the medicine, you make us go to home remedies, which we end up becoming a doctor. Like you said, there's certain vinegar and to bring your blood pressure down, but you got to know how much that stuff you can really take. I mean, there's a reason why we have doctors and scientists and study what we need to take to help with that issue. I mean, we all know that we're leaving this world here. We are going to leave. I mean, we don't know when, we don't know how. We don't determine that. I know the first time Jesus brought Lazarus, but the second time was the Undertaker. So we are leaving out of here. But the point is, if we know we have a problem that we can help, and there's something that can help us to sustain our ability a lot longer, because sometimes we eat things that in the past have messed up our bodies, or I don't mind saying I'm probably a little bit overweight than I normally should have been. My wife is showing pictures sometimes. I don't know, she's just trying to get me upset or so. Well, you used to slim down, like well, yeah, hey, I feel like I can do all things through Christ, but lose some weight right now. You know what I'm saying? But the key is that hey, I gained some pounds, and I'm quite sure I'm not at the stage of obedience, but I got to watch myself, because if I go there, then I need to have insulins and things like that. But you try to make people, and for males, sometimes it's a little difficult for us. Sometimes, we might be in the elevator, but it doesn't go upstairs sometimes. We know take care of our health a lot better than the females take that. So I'm going to put that out there. But I do know that we know to take better of ourselves, our health. But you even make it harder for us to go to the doctor, because we would go to the doctor when we're sick, but we got no insurance, we're not going to go at all. Knowing that we need that. And I also like that we have a lot of different partnerships you guys have that is working with you with this, because this is really a community and this is a faith base. I always say that, and I'm not trying to put any pastor on as one would say, line them up to be lined up to be shot. But I would say we are, as clergies and other organizations, we need to come together for our community. Why? Because these issues here is hurting somebody in our congregation. It's hurting one of our family members. It's the same as re-entering. We can't say we don't want to get involved with re-entering. As men's coming out of jail, women coming to jail. They're in our neighborhood now. They home, and we got to welcome them. And that comes back into the whole of the church and getting the church and other folks more involved with this here. How do we pass this bill? How do we get this through? How do we help these families? Because I have families that I deal with that we give boxes of food to. We do giving toys when Christmas time. They need help with this. We have programs, something with assistance. But always they haven't been to the doctor. Or they died. They end up being more sicker because they can't get the medicine and they don't have it. This is a community thing that happens to all of our communities. So I'm really glad that you guys is advocating for this and moving it, and that's what Care for Carolina is about, helping them. Now, if somebody want to get involved, and I know some people, they looking at here and say, that Pastor Coles is talking a mess right now. And I like to get involved. How could they really get involved? And I know you have so much. Pastor Thunder, back to you. Well, how can they get involved and what can they do? And this is our time to let them know about us.
Absolutely. So if they will visit care4carolina.com, that's care, the number 4, carolina.com. They can go to our Act Now page. They can sign on as an individual member and make sure that they receive information as it comes out. But more importantly, they can click on that Contact Your Legislator button, and they can easily send an email. They can personalize it. They can tell their story. They can tell why this matters to them, and that's the most important part. They can send that to their legislator. Their legislator will know how they feel, and again, right now is when they are negotiating through a final budget for North Carolina. Right now is when we can easily fix this at no cost to the state. We can do this, and again, those legislators need to hear from their constituents to make sure that this stays that top priority, that this stays top of mind. So careforcarolina.com. Everything that you can learn, everything that you can do to reach out to your member is available there. You can also follow us on social media. Okay. We have Twitter, Facebook accounts. at Care for Carolina. And we have a great group of folks that are always putting stuff up, new messages and new ways to get involved.
Now, what about the faith-based? Is there any partnership? We can be partners?
Absolutely, yes. And Reverend Coles, we have so appreciated your partnership in this. So we established this past year a faith advisory council, and I try to allow. I am a person of deep faith, and I believe that Jesus was a healer, which is why I'm in this work. But I also am not the person who knows how to speak best to that faith message. And so what we wanted to do was pull together those faith leaders who can speak well to it, members like yourself. And so we've put together this faith advisory council that has been able to reach out into these communities of faith, involve individuals who want to be a part of this because of their faith, because they want to care for their community. And we would strongly encourage those members to sign up. But also, we have over 80 faith communities, individual churches, as well as some of the major statewide associations. But those individual churches involving those pastors, we want to get them more involved so that, again, we can get into the communities the right way, make sure that this message is heard well, and bring the right message to it.
Well, Miss Erica, I'm going to tell you, I want to thank you and Miss. I met Miss. I only met y'all both online. That's crazy. We face to face. I met you the first one I met. I haven't met Ms. O'Connor yet, face to face yet. But I mean, the work that you guys do and pin it out there, and I'm very honored that you to come on the broadcast because we want to make sure we help the community. We have so many families who have a need for this. We have grandmothers today raising the children. You got, the world we in now, and we have grown folks got to move back to their mother house because they can't afford insurance, they can't afford the daycare. I mean, these are issues. We say, well, once you get out, 18, go to college, and bye-bye you go, but they come right back home, so don't sell your house, don't downsize, because they coming back. Don't downsize. The children are coming back because they can't afford it. We have issues in our community here. It was more of affordable homes because they can't afford it. So if I can't afford daycare and I can't afford my insurance when I'm sick and I can't afford a place to live, then what is my purpose here? And these are issues, and I'm glad that y'all guys are working on the issues on the health. Because we have a gentleman, he's having a train. I'll be with him next week, and he helping the people with affordable care that's really want to be entrepreneurs and to work on their license and understand this here. And I might have to call one of y'all to speak with him at his event. But the thing is, try to help them, because I look at, we're here to help the community, and what we're really doing, we are helping the next generation. The generation that's coming out. Everyone have done things for us before we got here, so now they are on our neck for us to help them. So I'm really honored that you was here today, and just for the last time, maybe if you let that camera know, talk to the camera, give them your information, your website address. Let me ask this question: do y'all guys do presentations? That's another question.
Anytime we are asked if we can be there, we will be there.
And here's the key question: is it a fee for presentation?
No, sir.
I just must ask.
We happily take any kind of contributions folks want to make to help this cause, but no, we are in this to get this done for the people who need it in North Carolina, and we will come speak to any group that will have us.
Thank you. If you can let them know all your information, and as we close out, give them your contact information and your website address.
Absolutely. So the website address is care4carolina.com. That's care, the number 4, carolina.com. And if you'd like to reach me, you can reach me at Erica, ERICA, at care4carolina.com. Thank you.
Again, you have saw Miss Erica here and sharing that information. Care for Carolina. They need our help. We need our clergies. We need our community. We need leaders in our community to get involved. It's so important. Affordable care and care is very important. You can't just go to the doctor and know sure you don't have any type of care. We need it. It's so important. If our legislation listen to in this here, and I'm going to put it out there, please help us change this here. Whatever you need to do, if it's that simple, it ain't going to cost you anything. please help us, because these are things that are needed in our community. It's very hard. Listen, raising a family as a man and a mother just being a single mom does not come with a manual. All right, it didn't come with a manual. So these things are self-learned from, as we have learned from our parents. But our parents teach us how to learn, how to love one another, how to take care of each other, and they took us to the doctor. It's very important for us children to go to the doctor, and if us as parents to get the health care, especially for men, because we have a big problem going to the doctor, but us going in and being checked, be sure for prostate, whatever we may be going through. A lot of things going to happen in your body, but you can catch it before it's happening. Something's going on, you just don't know what. But if you're not going to the doctor, they can't catch it on time. If I don't have no insurance to pay them, then how can I go to the doctor? My time is up. I truly thank you for yours. Thank you for listening to the broadcast. God bless, and see you at the next broadcast.